And we just have returned from a superb experience going to Greenville, South Carolina. It was absolutely a delightful trip. It was a trip that so many individuals had looked forward to, and as over 40 of our participants, our community leaders from this area, joined us on this trip, had the opportunity to see a city that's been very successful. Now, I want to say to you, before I bring the mayor up, and since I have the mic, I'm going to go ahead and take advantage of that, Mayor. It validated for me, and I think for a whole lot of people that went on the trip, because I heard it time and time again, that we're doing a lot of great things right here in downtown Huntsville. And Greenville's not a very large city, but it has 400,000 in its metropolitan area. And those people come to the downtown because of things that occur downtown, just like our Panoply and our Whistle Stop and our Art Stroll this week, and a lot of other reasons that people have to come downtown, our wonderful Big Spring. So it validated for me and for a lot of the participants that went on this trip that it's already happening downtown to a great degree. And people like Greenville in our community come to our downtown that belongs to all of us. So with that, taking advantage of the opportunity, I'm going to bring the mayor up because this started last fall with a serious conversation with Big Spring Partner Board members and the mayor about going to Greenville to learn their best practices and to bring those back, to implement those in our city to make our city continue to grow and to flourish. So with that, Mayor Battle, come on up.
On this trip, we had about 50 citizens of Huntsville who came and paid their own way to go up there and to see another community and see what another community was doing. And I echo what Mary Jane said. You know, we have a very good start on our downtown livability. We have started we've started that process. But now we've got to bring back in some of the best practices from some other communities to finish that process. When you look at the life of a community, you've got to have a strong economic engine, which we do have. You've got to have a great quality of life across the spectrum of your community, which we have. And you've got to have livability. And over the past 3 years, I think we've been working a lot on livability, on the idea of having the lumber yard, of having places where you have restaurants with sidewalk cafe dining. Having an art trail, sculpture trail, and we've gotten a lot of the start of where we want to go, and a lot of it springboarded off of the Chattanooga trip. But now we've gone to the place that has a very good, solid record on livability, and we're trying to bring that livability here, trying to bring that livability back to Huntsville, trying to take what we've started with and completing it. We've got 2/3 of the pie, and that other third of the pie we're working on, and it's work in progress. If we finish that, we have the complete picture of what you've got to have as a community. And so that's where we've been over the past 3 years, and also where we went with the trip to Greenville is the idea that we're going to finish up that last section of our pie, which is the livability area. We saw a lot of mixed-use projects down there. We saw a lot of loft apartments. We saw a lot of what we're doing here, and we have in the plans with the council court and what we're doing with the Sealy project. But all of it kind of ties back together with the idea that as a community, you have to be complete. You have to service every section of your community, and you have to have all three parts of that: livability, quality of life, and an economic engine to make a complete community. And that's what we were looking at, and that's what we tried to achieve. And I know everybody else had different items that they picked up on this trip that they wanted to look at. So ours is to get a complete list of opportunity items and explore those. Some people will say some of them are good ideas. Some of them will say that's not workable now. Some of them will say that's an idea that we need to put off for several years, but let's take the ones that are easily achievable. And I think that's part of it, is that we pick slowly, we pick surely, we make sure that we do it right as we do it, and we move forward with the easy ones, and also start planning for the hard ones that come. Greenville has done a great job. You know, the first thing out of the chute you can see is that they did a great job with their branding and their signage, and that's an easy one for us to address right now and to get to start working on today. In fact, you'll see, I think the city's going to go out for an RFP in the next week or two on signage. So, you know, that's just one small example of one of the areas that we'll go to. And then the next step is to take it from the city officials and their list is to tie into everybody who went on this trip and start putting up the long list of everything that's there. And the long list is just that. It's a long list of opportunities that you have, and how many you can answer is always up to budgets, and it's up to timing, and it's up to buy-in by your community. So all that has to work together to make this happen in the right way. Too much change too quickly is not a good thing, but no change at all is not a good thing either. You have to make sure that you move it at a steady process rate. You know, you saw so much of the things that were happening there that we're already doing in baby steps, that we're already doing in certain ways. Their artisphere, they had what I would call a high-end panoply there. They had paintings that went up to what, 32,000, and lots of art out there to be purchased, and it was a great community effort of looking at the arts. The next day they had the markets, the downtown markets, and we're already talking about downtown markets. We have Green Street on Thursday nights. We're talking about several more days of downtown markets. Been working with the Alabama Department of Agriculture on doing that. You know, they use their water features very well. They had a water feature that, 15 years ago was not an attraction for the city, and they changed that. And we've got the same kind of water features here in town. We've had plans for those water features since 1987, I think. So, you know, there's a lot of opportunity sitting out there, and I don't think that it's any one thing that, that I say needs to happen, or Evan says, or Bob says. I think it's something that you bring the community together and you have a community conversation, and what's first, what's second, what's third, how do we afford it, and how do we make it move forward. Some of our opportunities are, we have in our downtown area, we have 2 schools which are now closing, and we have to work to have a positive impact on the community with what happens to those 2 new schools. Mixed use, talking about the mixed use of tying mixed use into parking facilities. We have 6 parking facilities in the downtown area, all in very prime locations. How can we tie mixed use into that? How can we end up with a retail outlet that ties back into that? The VBC and the idea of a signature hotel, another signature hotel on the Clinton side, so that we can start trying to hit that magic number of 1,000 rooms. If you have 1,000 rooms in the downtown area, you've got enough to bring in some of your bigger conventions, and the bigger conventions are what we have the Civic Center for. Right here, this building right here is the Regions Bank building, and we've got we've started on the process of what to do with it, but we haven't found a final destination or a final home of what to do with it. So this is an opportunity sitting right here. We talked about some streets, one-way streets, two-way streets, parallel parking versus diagonal parking, something we've talked about for the past 3 to 4 years. Those are some other things to look at. Parking meters. Do we really need to have parking meters in the downtown area, or right in front of the retail area? And how are we going to monitor those if we don't have them? We went across a bridge over Pinhook. We've been talking about that for a while because we also have hotels over there on Scott's development over there. And we have to have a way for those patrons of that hotel to get to the VBC if they're going to be coming to conventions and things at VBC. So there's a lot of opportunities out there. Every one of those opportunities needs to be looked at, and they also need to be worked into your capital plan, because your capital plan spells out where you have money to do these things over the future. So you have to make sure that you do it as a process, and make sure that you work it through the system, and also make sure that you work it with all the people who are here. This is my list. I can guarantee you that everybody in this room has more things to add to that list, and it will be a big list when we get finished. if we have a big list, it's not a bad thing. If we accomplish, 5 things off that big list in 1 year, then we've made progress, and then we still got the big list sitting out there and still know what direction we need to go in. The Greenville Stadium, and really the Greenville Stadium is not just directly downtown. It's about, what would you say, a mile from where we were staying. And it's close. It's on the west end side. But they had a beautiful stadium there. I mean, it was really a nice stadium. But it was another public-private development. The developers or the baseball team put in 3/4 of the money for it, and the city ended up putting in 1/4 of the money. So that's those kind of developments where you can have a return on your investment, but also everybody has some investment in the project, or the kinds that we would look at as a city, because you need to, as the old saying is, you need to have skin in the game.
Our charge at Big Spring Partners is downtown historic preservation and the revitalization of the area. We learned an awful lot on this trip. Greenville's got a lot going on downtown. They started by planting trees. We've got trees. We've got a beautiful landscape. We've got a huge asset in Big Spring, and we need to develop around that. We've made great strides in recent years, and as we've heard from several nationally known planners, the conditions in downtown Huntsville for revitalization and development are as good as anywhere in the country. We talk about our community being a good place to live, to work, and to play. I think this is a bit more about the live and the play pieces of our community. If we're going to continue to attract the best and brightest to fill the jobs that our economic engine produces, we've got to have a very vibrant downtown, something that attracts the young, best and brightest people to our community. So we learned a lot. We got a lot of good things going for us. I think the mayor and his staff have laid out a good roadmap for us to move forward, and I hope you'll see some results of that effort in the coming years. Bob?
Big takeaways for most of us was finding and at least being able to explore some funding sources that we hadn't seen before. We found them in a number of areas when they took us around to see how they did their apartments and how they funded different parts. So there's a funding source that we've all struggled with, trying to figure out how to put more of that into the downtown area. We found a number of places where they focus on making sure that their citizenry is a part of the decision-making process, and that's an encouragement for us to try to bring more people into the discussion before different decisions are made, design is made, and to bring all that into a concerted effort. And from that, I think it's exactly what we've been looking for, another piece of the pie from where we started from several years ago. And as the mayor said, it's just one more step. We're in a continuous process. It doesn't all get done fast. It took 30 years in Greenville to get to where they are today, and they're still working on a process. They're looking back at us to figure out how you get the creative class to come to enjoy what they've already started to build. We're kind of on the opposite side of that, so we're sister cities on different sides of the family. So.
I was so pleased that our community invested in this trip to Greenville, South Carolina. It was an important visit